Welcome to the College Football Show, Week 10. Now, there are not as many intriguing matchups, but we have people who are on upset alert this week in college football. We have some intriguing matchups, and of course, we have to reveal the top 25 today. But before we do all of that, we got to talk about what's going on with these coach hirings, what the new intel is, because there is all type of buzz on there. Video on Unafraid Show, so you guys can go check that out. I'm George Wrighster, former NFL player, college football analyst for CW. You'll be able to catch me this week on the Louisville, Virginia Tech game on CW, so make sure that y'all tune in to that. Holla at me on socials and everything else. Appreciate your time. So these head coach openings, obviously LSU is now open, Penn State, UCLA, Virginia Tech, Arkansas, Florida, and a bunch of Oklahoma State and a bunch more in between. But the biggest question now is who is going to take those jobs? Now, Lane Kiffin's name has been fancied about by everybody wants Lane Kiffin. Well, guess what? There's only one Lane Kiffin. And I am rooting for chaos because I just want to see what happens. I want to find the good athletic directors. I want to find the people who are not trying to win the press conference, but are trying to win football games. Now, obviously, Lane's name has been brought up. I hope he stays at Ole Miss. That is my hope. Because then, now, let's see what you're going to do, Florida. Let's see if you got another trick in your bag, LSU, besides trying to pay Nick Saban all the money on earth. What else you got going? Because it's got to be somebody at LSU that knows what's going on. And in terms of the culture, you can't hire another outsider, all those things. All right, so there are some coaching names that have not been brought up. Obviously, everybody's bringing up the Clark Lee, Kenny Dillingham, Brent Key, Jeff Brohm, and all of these guys are at their alma mater. So I don't believe any of them are going to leave, because leaving your alma mater, if they are resourcing you and giving you opportunity and you're winning there, you can't go back to your alma mater. It'd be different if your alma mater was San Jose State or Boise State and you go take, the Florida job. Nobody's going to be mad at you. But if you leave, Louisville, won national championships in multiple sports, including basketball, and then you bounce from there and they're resourcing you, Jeff Brohm, you will not be able to go back. Same thing with Brent Key at Georgia Tech or Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. You have to try it there and fail first. But there are a couple of names that nobody is throwing out, and I cannot understand why they are not throwing them out. And one of those names is Jake Dickert. So Jake Dickert is the head coach over at Wake Forest right now. He is doing a great job at Wake Forest. I believe Wake Forest is 5-2 right now at Wake Forest. This is a complete turnaround of the program. And then he mentored John Mateer the previous years. And guess who else he coached? Cam Ward as well. So this man knows how to deal with quarterbacks, knows how to let them cook, and he is clearly a good leader because he's turning that around, and he's got Robbie Ashford as his starting quarterback right now. No shade to Robbie Ashford, but he's not Ty Simpson. He's not Dante Moore. He's not any of them. So just the reality. So Jake Dickert, he needs to be on your list. Willie Fritz at Houston. I know he's 65 years old, but so what? So is Kurt Signetti. He's 64. These men can be leader of men. And Willie Fritz is turning Houston around. And they were a tough out last year on defense. And now they got a little bit of offense cooking with not a Connor Weigmans over there. He should definitely be on the list. Manny Diaz over at Duke. You got to put him on the list because he's shown that whatever didn't work at Miami, he's the guy who's figuring it out. And you give him resources and you give him opportunity, he will be a guy who can do some really good things for you. All right, so those are the names that should be on the list on top of the Will Steins and the Brian Hartlines and the Barnes, the defensive coordinator over there at Indiana. These are the names that should absolutely be on the list. and you can't try to win the press conference. You have to find a leader of men, somebody who will recruit their ass off and leave no stone unturned, and also can adapt to the changing landscape of college football uh, without compromising and sacrificing the integrity of their team or their morals or the culture that they've built. So those are the things that you need to be looking for in a coach. The next thing that we got to talk about today, we got to talk about Warren Sapp, because Warren Sapp is the defensive line coach over there at Colorado. And there's been talk this week because he's got this weird pregame tradition of kicking all the cones over. Now, I played in the NFL with Warren Sapp. And when we were playing down in Tampa, we actually got into it with Warren Sapp, because at that point in time, Warren Sapp, when the defensive linemen and offensive linemen are like the last people out, and we're on the field stretching, like in stretch lines, not like, casually. We got pads on, everything else. Warren Sapp, and I knew he was gonna come and try to run through our line. Tried to run through our line. Bam! Shoulder checked him. Like, come on, man. Don't just be disrespectful. Don't be disrespectful. I hope somebody has this on tape somewhere. But this is what Warren Sapp does before the games, and it's Bush League. It is childish, and he's too damn old for this, because there is no reason why he should be knocking over cones before the game, and then Deion Sanders coming back behind him to pick him up. Deion Sanders coming behind you to pick him up with his bad toes and blood clots and everything else. Man, let the man just coach and do his job. Got to clean up behind you. This is ridiculous. You're too old for this, Warren. You're 50 years old. This is too much. You're not playing. The kids are playing. If the kid was kicking over cones, whatever. So what? Maybe it's his pregame tradition. But whatever it was, it didn't work against Utah because y'all was down 43 to nothing. So maybe you should have kicked the damn stadium over. The next thing that we got to talk about is quarterbacks. We got to talk about 5-star quarterbacks, because they are being used as battering rams right now. They're being used as battering rams because you have had Connor Weigman, who's over there at Houston now, and you have Haynes King over there at Georgia Tech. They both were on Texas A&M's roster, and you had Weigman, who was part of that best recruiting class ever for Texas A&M, best recruiting class ever. Well, now he is somewhere else, and I have talked about Haynes King at Georgia Tech, how Georgia Tech, they got to stop running him so much the way he makes it through the whole season, because last year he was battered and bruised and missed time and missed games. So it's funny how football changes, right? Because it's like a trickle up / trickle down effect. So college quarterbacks have always been running and all that stuff. Well, then then you go to NFL, there's no running allowed. But now there's more running from the quarterbacks than you ever have, including the last 2 MVPs. Well, the last 3 MVPs, really, when you got uh, Lamar Jackson winning 2, and you have, or 3, and then you got Josh Allen last year as well. Your quarterbacks have to be able to run, and they got to be able to take a little bit of punishment. Well, these dudes are taking a little bit too much, and the way we even think about quarterbacks has 100% changed. No more pocket guys. You must be mobile, and you got to be willing, like you got to be built forward tough, so you can take a little bit of pressure, a little bit of punishment, because this is the way that football is. All right, college football hot seats, right? Obviously, everybody knows everybody that's been fired. UCLA with Deshaun Foster, James Franklin at Penn State, Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. Um, you got Florida, Billy Napier, Brian Kelly over there at LSU, which on a side note, I asked this question and haven't really got too many answers. Why is it that we have not seen a whole lot of players, former players of Brian Kelly, coming out and defending him and being like, yo, this dude changed my life in a way. He showed me things. He taught me how to be a man, all these things. And people have responded to me when I put it on Twitter. The answer was, well, George, isn't he supposed to just win football games? Yeah, on some level, right? But if I'm sending my 17-year-old, like when I sent my 17-year-old to go play college football, when my parents sent me, like they weren't expecting Coach Bellotti or Coach anybody to be my father because I had one of those. They were expecting them to mentor me and watch over me and make sure that I'm being groomed into a man. And so, yes, that is part of your head coach's job above winning football games. You're supposed to be building men and leaders out in the world while you're winning football games. That's Brian Kelly. So we got all the jobs open. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, and UAB, Oregon State, all of them open right now. The question is, people have not really paid attention. Who else is still on the hot seat right now? And one of them, obviously, is Hugh Freeze over there at Auburn. So we got to watch that. And I'm not calling for anybody to be fired. I'm just saying it is clear how people out in this world are reacting to losses right now. And these buyouts, they don't give a damn. As long as you got some offset language in there, they will figure it out. So Hugh Freeze over there at Auburn. And if he don't win a couple in a row, next loss, probably up out of there. Shane Beamer over there at South Carolina. I picked them to go to the college football playoff before the season. Then all of a sudden, people started throwing his name out for the Virginia Tech job when Pry got fired. It's been downhill for South Carolina. Offense looks bad. It ain't looking good right now. Over there at Baylor, you got Dave Aranda. People were throwing his name out for the UCLA job. I was like, what are we talking about? And he's a good coach, clearly. He always adjusts, but it's usually too late. And now Baylor fans are probably getting tired. They're like, come on, man, we got nothing going right now. And then the last one, the dude I played against in college, which is Jonathan Smith up there at Michigan State. He was at Michigan State because he was a hostage, the same way that Mel Tucker was. Mel Tucker wanted to stay at Colorado. Michigan State offered him so much money, he couldn't help but leave to get himself paid and his assistant coaches paid. Same thing with Jonathan Smith. He didn't want to leave Oregon State, but with what Michigan State was offering, the fact that Oregon State was going to be left without a conference and everything in between, yeah, so that's I do not believe that he would have left if Oregon State had the resources to go for it. But that's a whole nother thing. All right, so before we get into the games, we got to talk about the top 25 poll because the top 25 poll is the thing that everybody wants to see because my top 25 is based upon the three most important criteria in all of college football rankings. It is quality wins, schedule played, and dominance. That's what it is. That is it. The end of the story. You don't need to talk about schedule. We don't need to talk about recruiting rankings. We don't need to talk about none of that. None of it. Why does that even matter? It doesn't. So why on earth are we talking about it? And people get too caught up in the names when it comes to rankings. And I do not. I don't care where you are. It is what have you put on wax so far. So here is my top 25 for week 10 in college football. We got starting at number 25, Utah. We got Missouri at 24. Not they've been hanging close against Vandy and Alabama, so I guess they're a good football team. They got no wins to prove it. We got Texas at 23. You might be like, George, didn't you tell me that Texas wasn't a top 25 team? I believe that they still kind of ish are not, but they've strung together a few wins. They are a talented roster. Arch came back with phenomenal numbers after snatching victory from the jaws of defeat against Mississippi State. Not that I think that that's a great win, but wins do matter. Washington at 22, appropriate. behind Michigan, who beat them. Appropriate. Oklahoma at 20. Iowa at 19. No idea why they're not ranked, aside from they're not in the SEC, because Kirk Ferentz, he's been doing a good job. The offense still stinks, but they're winning football games, so he's never going to change as long as they're winning football games. Cincinnati 18, USC 17. Common sense rankings in front of Michigan, who they beat by 3 scores. Tennessee at 16, Louisville 15, 14 Virginia, 13 Texas Tech. Now they probably got penalized a little too much for their loss, but such is life. Vanderbilt 12. I believe Vanderbilt is a good football team. I do not believe that they are one of the 12 teams that should be in the college football playoff as of now. Is it a cute story? Sure. Is Diego Pavia talking about Heisman? I believe I'm the Heisman. But did you look at your stats last game? I mean, unless we want to just make this a legacy award for you, but that's a whole nother story. But he's has not put up the type of dominance that it takes to win the Heisman Trophy. But his arrogance, his audacity, his leadership, all those things, and willing Vanderbilt are of note. Ole Miss 11, BYU 10. Yes, 2 lost. Notre Dame is number 9. They are one of the 12 best teams in the country, 10 best teams in the country, and anybody who has watched them will tell you. Miami 8. I don't love the way Beck's playing right now, but if he can snap out of it, they are a team that can string together 3 or 4 wins. They are talented enough to do that in the college football playoffs. So is Notre Dame. Georgia Tech, I am waiting for Cinderella slipper to fall off, but I'm not sure it is. They are doing a good job, and they are on a collision course with the college football playoff if they can navigate the rest of the schedule. And it is not the most formidable, but it does have some landmines that you can step on. Georgia 6, Alabama 5. Alabama looks clearly better than Georgia. Georgia's first half offense is garbage. I'm sorry, first half defense is really bad. But Alabama is concerning too. This is where I look at teams 3 through 6 to me in my rankings, and then 9 through 11. These look like team, and number 13. I believe that those are teams that can string together 3 to 4 wins to win a championship. But they are also teams that are flawed. Any of them can beat each other. Texas A&M can beat Oregon. Oregon can beat Texas A&M. Georgia can beat Texas A&M, and Texas A&M can beat Texas Tech. But Texas Tech can also beat Notre Dame, and Notre Dame can beat Texas A&M if they play them again. And that's just what it. This is the new world of college football. And Ohio State and Indiana have not shown cracks in the armor yet. I do believe that they can be beat. They're not perfect yet. They haven't run up against Indiana ran up against the resistance with Oregon, but Ohio State has not run up against that level of resistance yet. So we still got to see what's up with them. You guys hop in the comment, hop in the chat. Tell me what y'all think about these rankings and who would you put number 1? And where would you rank the rest of the top 10? All right, now let's get to these games. And you guys have talked about it. So I am going to give you what you have asked for. There have been people complaining about other shows. Oh, they talk way too much SEC. They're overranked and all of this stuff. Well, this is why you come to George Wrighster's College Football Podcast, because we talk about the nation. We talk about the most intriguing games and why they matter. The most intriguing game to me this weekend is USC versus Nebraska. This game, oh, it is so much intrigue. USC is favored by 6.5 points. And Nebraska, despite these being 2 blue blood programs, has never beaten USC. And USC won this game last year 28-20. And that was Jaden Maiava's first start for the Trojans. Now, this game features 2 coaches in Lincoln Riley, and you have Matt Rule. And the tale of these 2 coaches they're trying to get their schools back to past glory. They're trying to turn back the clock and get back the glory days. And you got Matt Rule, who is trying to lightly fend off Penn State rumors without without offending Penn State, while also still flirting with Penn State behind the scenes. And then you got Lincoln Riley because he has seen some rust develop on his shiny name. Because one of the primary reasons that I have cautioned people in terms of trying to lure away Power Four coaches to other Power Four teams is Lincoln Riley. It has not worked outside of Nick Saban, unless you can find me some examples, which I'm not thinking about, where it has worked. And yes, you may say, "Oh well, Kalen DeBoer has worked at Alabama." Has it? Not to the I mean, it's still early, but I'm saying to the level that Alabama people are expecting from Alabama. No, not yet. So go get you a FCS coach, go get you a coordinator, go get you a group of six coach. That's your best bet. So Matt Rule, on the other hand, he has Nebraska 6-2. They are bowl eligible. Their only losses are to Minnesota and Michigan. And then they do have a decent one score win over a good Cincinnati team. And they've beaten Maryland and last week Northwestern as well. They've had to replace a lot on defense, but this defense is very, very good. They have plenty of opportunity. They are great against the pass. They're averaging like 160 yards passing given up per game. And USC and Jaden Maaba have been throwing it all over the yard. Now, Lincoln Riley, for all of the hype and pomp and circumstance and everything else with him going to USC, since he's been at USC, he is 4-13 against AP top 25 opponents. And people in USC would be, oh, it's a long rebuild. And the problem is, and this is why you have to run your own race in life, because it is easy to look at Kurt Signetti up there at Indiana and be like, why is Lincoln Riley not on that speed, on demon time? Why are they not doing what Oregon is doing? Why are they not doing what other schools are doing? You got to run your own race, but you run out of time sometime because he's 4-13 against AP top 25 opponents at USC. But then at Oklahoma, he was 15-6 against that same group of top 25 opponents. And they're not, USC is not getting what they expected from the Lincoln Riley era. Now, the question is going to be about these quarterbacks because they're going to be the X factor in this game. You got Dylan Raiola versus Jaden Maaba and this Nebraska pass defense. Now, USC's defense is led by Danton Lynn. And he's essentially going to be playing against Dana Holgerson's offense, which is how Mummy's air raid, which is what all the principles of Lincoln Riley's offense are made of. So if Lynn has ever been sitting at practice like, bro, I know how to stop this fool's offense. Well, here's your chance, buddy. Now the question is Dylan Raiola going to get rid of the ball and not be trying to protect his completion percentage by holding on to the football? Now, in this game, USC is favored by 6.5 points. I am going to take Nebraska plus 6.5 in this game. USC might pull it out, but I think that they're going to be able to keep it within a touchdown or possibly win the game on the money line. The next game that we got to talk about, Oklahoma at Tennessee. This game is intriguing because the loser of this game should not be ranked after this game. I don't care what everybody keeps trying to tell you that the SEC is this and that and all this. Don't pay attention to it. But I will tell you that you do need to pay attention to the fact that Georgia, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Texas A&M, and the other team at the top of the SEC, they all five of them do not play each other. They don't play each other down the stretch. So that's a gotcha. So of course they're all going to finish undefeated or with one loss because they won the schedule roulette. Now when they go to 9 conference games in the SEC, it's going to be different. Now Oklahoma at Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by 3.5 points in this game, and in this matchup, that is at Neyland Stadium out in Rocky Top, you will always be number one in the S. I was born in Memphis. Forgive me. Now you have two head coaches in this game. Well, you have number 18 Oklahoma, number 14 Tennessee. This is a primetime game, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. So looking forward to that big game situation. Now for Tennessee, Josh Heupel's offense is still a top 5 in total offense in terms of pace and effectiveness this year. And the Vols rank top 3 nationally in total offense in terms of yards per game entering week 10. And his system is led by Joey Aguilar, and it's working. It is working. But on the Oklahoma side, they got to figure it out because they're not running the ball at a high enough level. And John Mateer, since he had hand surgery, he don't look like the John Mateer at the beginning of the season. He's got almost 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, but it's the 6 picks that are a little bit nasty. Now, and he only threw for 223 yards in their 34 to 26 loss to Ole Miss last week. And then you think about on the Tennessee side, Joey Aguilar is already well over 2,000 yards, almost 2,500 yards. And he's in a situation where, 18 touchdowns, 6 picks. Kentucky last week, he almost threw for 400 yards. Like, this is where John Mateer has to return to John Mateer if Oklahoma is going to make the college football playoff, because they're going to have to win out from here on out. That means that they got to win the games that are down the stretch for them, which is going to be they have Alabama, Missouri, and LSU all coming up next. They're all winnable games, but they're also all losable games for Oklahoma. And this is going to be determining whether Brent Venables gets on that hot seat, because Oklahoma, it's one of them places that you got to win. If he drops all three, you are going to start hearing whispers about Oklahoma and Brent Venables. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. But for Tennessee, this game is kind of the catalyst for the rest of their season. They play New Mexico State, which is a layup next week. Then they got, actually in 2 weeks, then they got Florida at Florida, which could be a tough game. And then they play Vanderbilt after that, which is for sure going to be a tough game. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, all right, Tennessee is favored by 3.5 points. They're playing at home. Brent Venables and Lane Kiffin have been going back and forth, jawing. And I believe that Brent Venables' defense, who is one of the best in the country, rebounds from last week, and they go and beat Tennessee. I don't even need the 3.5 points, but I will take it, because why the hell would I give points away? All right, next game up. This, if somebody had told you before the season that Penn State versus Ohio State, that it would be a number 1 ranked team versus an unranked team, you probably would have, well, if you didn't know any better, you would have said that Penn State would be the team that would be ranked number 1 and Ohio State would be unranked, because they lost so much to the draft, new young quarterback, new coordinator, all those things. And Penn State had everything back. Well, they fell apart. But in this game, Ohio State is favored by 20.5 points. I'm not even going to wait till the end to tell you. I am taking Penn State plus 20.5. You can book it, remember it, write it down, take a picture, because Ohio State has won 8 straight, and 4 of them being by 1 score. Now, I'm not picking Penn State to win this football game, mind you. It's this 20.5 points that I take issue with. You got Ryan Day versus Terry Smith. Terry Smith understands that this is no risk it, no biscuit territory. He's got to go talk to Andy Nicky, stop all this trick dick stuff, and go play some football and leave it all out. Let's not be conservative. Listen. I know that Drunken Myers is a young quarterback, but this is our shot. This is all we got, because this is our opportunity to win over the administration, to win over the fans, and say that a former Penn State wide receiver should be the head coach of Penn State and not Matt Rule. This is your shot, and I believe that they are going to take a big swing. Now, whether that swing works or not, that's a whole different story. But I do believe that they're going to take a huge swing. And Ryan Day, it's so crazy. Like he just won a national championship, and he's under more pressure from his fan base than probably Alabama with Kalen DeBoer. Because they're looking at this team, they're like, we got the number one defense in the country. We got Arvell Reese, we got Caleb Downs. Julian Sayers completing like 98% of his passes. I mean, really like 80 in the last few weeks. But we got Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith. We got so many weapons. The defense is great. So you're trying to find where they can lose. And this is the hardest thing because the rat poison is all over the place. All over the place. And we're going to see what happens with this game. And if Julian Sayin is going to be able to have another great game, but this time against a much better pass defense than what he faced against Wisconsin, where he went ham. Where he went ham. I mean, it was wild. He was what, 36 for 42, 393, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. I mean, and in Big Ten play, Julian Sayin is 81%, 11 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he got to be, him and Fernando Mendoza got to be 1-2 for Conference Player of the Year honors. So I am going to take Ohio State to win this football game, but I do believe that Penn State makes it interesting. This ain't just going to be no walk in the park, kid. All right, next game that we got to talk about, Vanderbilt versus Texas. Number 20 Vanderbilt versus number 9. I'm sorry, number 9 Vanderbilt versus number 10 Texas. Now, Texas is favored by 2.5 points in this game, but I'm not sure if they should be because Arch Manning is in concussion protocol right now. And it actually might be a top 20 SEC matchup between a guy that started out his career at New Mexico Military Institute in Diego Pavia and somebody that left Jacksonville State to split time at Gardner Webb outside of Charlotte before starting a handful of games at Troy in Mr. Matthew Caldwell. So that's who could be in this football game, and that is welcome to the new era of college football. Now, Vanderbilt comes into this game, wins over LSU, wins over Missouri, and then Texas has won 3 straight where they beat Kentucky, the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma with a bad-handed John Mateer, and then they just scraped by and beat Mississippi State. So Texas wins ain't impressive at all, if we're being honest, but wins are wins. That's really all that matters at this point in time. And Texas won this game by a field goal last year where Vanderbilt was competitive. And in the first 2 meetings between these two teams since 1928, now these two teams haven't played in Austin since 1903. And that's when the game ended in a 5-5 tie. So we ain't going to have that happen. But Texas has had a lot of trouble getting this offense going this year. They are 69th in points per game, 79th in total yards, and tied for 115th in first downs per game. Now, if Matthew Caldwell, if Arch is out, if he can provide a spark against a Vanderbilt defense that is ranked 24th in points per game allowed and 31st in yards allowed, oh, there's going to be some interesting conversations in Austin next week about what to do with college football's most notorious quarterback, Arch Manning. Now, I don't believe that you can bench him, but if Caldwell comes out and plays extraordinary, you're going to have some real conversations, and I would not want to be Sark having them conversations. I'd be trying to get out to the NFL before I'd have to rub the Mannings the wrong way. Now, now he might not get an NFL job if he rubs the Mannings the wrong way, but that's a whole other story. Now, if the offense, if it looks stale with Caldwell, then those conversations are actually going to drift to whether Steve Sarkisian was actually carried by Quinn Ewers and not the other way around. Because the question is, are those conversations fair? I don't think so, but that's the reality. But you got Diego Pavia, who is going to have his hands full with the pass rush of Texas. You got Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill. But Pavia is also one of 2 quarterbacks in 2024 that threw for multiple touchdowns against Texas defense. The only other one was Cade Klubnik. Now, if Pavia can eliminate turnovers, because he threw 2 picks last year as well, then the Commodores can win this football game. Now, coaches, you got Clark Lee versus Steve Sarkisian. Now, Clark Lee has Vanderbilt playing adult football and playing out of their mind. I believe in them. They are physical, they are composed, they are committing to NIL. This is a team that is going places, and I'm excited about the future of Vanderbilt football. But let's not sit up here and act like that everything is just a-okay and that Vanderbilt has a talent edge on Texas, because they don't. They don't. And I love Vanderbilt's Pavia to Eli Stowers and what this team means, what they believe in each other. But there ain't no Ryan Wingo on this team like Texas have, who is a big play, one shot to the end zone kind of guy at wide receiver. And then you got Wisner at running back. He's got efficiency value. Come on, man. I mean, but Vanderbilt's defense has traveled. They sat on Missouri 17-10. Their edge Miles Capers has 4.5 sacks. Oh, I'm just saying. I am going to take Vanderbilt in this football game plus the points. I know everybody loves Texas. The FPI loves Texas. Texas will probably still be a top 10 FPI team even if they lose this football game. But listen, only the results matter here on the show. All right, next game up. We got Miami versus SMU. This is a bounce back game for both of these teams. Miami comes into this game in Texas, favored by 12 and a half points. Mario Cristobal is going to be upset. This team's going to be upset after losing that Louisville game. And yes, the way that they started in the first half against Stanford, that ain't going to cut it either. If they start this game out like this against SMU, they could have problems. As long as Jennings, SMU's quarterback, long as he's not turning the ball over. But you have Mario Cristobal, who is Miami's head coach. He ain't leaving to go nowhere. And you got Rhett Lashley over there at SMU, whose name is being thrown out amongst other head coaching jobs. And I do believe that that is on some level impacting his team's play and why they're sitting at 5-3 instead of at 6-2 right now. It has to. But if Rhett Lashley wants to keep his name open for these jobs, and mind you, I've said that we completely overvalue jobs versus one win, because you can get lucky. A broken clock is right twice a day. But the way you lead and orchestrate your program and your organization, that travels even when you lose a football game. So don't put too much stock or in terms of a win against Miami if Rhett Lashley wins, or a loss against Miami. I'm telling you, don't. But Carson Beck, he has to be better. 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the season, 4 interceptions versus he had 4 interceptions versus in the game that they lost versus Louisville, was really 5. One of them got called back, and I think he had one against Stanford too. Like, you're just like, come on, man. Like, no more chucking ducks. But they got to continue to get the ball to Malachi Tony in this offense and then stay balanced with Mark Fletcher Jr. running the football. But the key to beating Miami, if you are SMU, is to stop the run. That is it. Stop the run. Make Carson Beck throw the football without throwing screens. You have to defend the screen game, because if Malachi Tony gets the ball in his hands, punt return, screen, he is a problem in the open field. These little jitterbug, he's like them Florida dudes that was chasing rabbits. I bet you if we interview Malachi Tony, he was one of them Florida boys that used to run around chasing rabbits. Them dudes always be fast. Now, the Miami Hurricanes have the advantage in the trenches. They 100% do. Their offensive line is built. They are strong. They are sturdy, and they are mean. But they also can also be stopped on some level, whether it's scheme, execution. The results are just the results. But the question is Miami's defense with Ruben Bain Jr., their safety super good. Like, are they going to be able to withstand Rhett Lashley's stress horizontally and this passing attack with Romello Brunson over the top? That is the question, because we're sitting here looking at this LSU of this SMU offense. It looks very similar to Louisville's offense, who did have success, particularly in the first half, but Miami largely shut them down in the second half. Miami, it is all going to be about putting together 4 quarters of football. If they can put together 4 quarters of football, they are going to win this game by more than the 12 and a half points that they are favored. However, I have not seen Miami, whether it is against USF, whether it's against Notre Dame, Louisville, Stanford. I have not seen them put together 4 quarters of football. And if they don't put together 4 quarters of football, like history says this season, then Miami is going to be not be able to you can't lay the 12 and a half. I am going to take SMU plus the 12 and a half. Feels good. It feels right. Feels very right. And Miami has Syracuse, NC State, and Virginia Tech after this. Doesn't feel like they can lose any of those, right? I don't think so. Mario Cristobal already got the one weird loss out this year. And then SMU, they got at Boston College, tough game against Louisville, and then at Cal, which could be tough as well. So that's that game. Next game that we got Cincinnati versus Utah. This is their first ever meeting. And this is a night game, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10:15 Eastern time. So all you on the East Coast, pay attention right now, because I know you're not going to stay up to watch it. This is their first ever meeting. Utah is favored by 7.5 points. Now, Utah, they got sick of people talking about how they couldn't defend their home field at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Then they went out and smashed both Arizona State and Colorado. And they ended up using a different quarterback in each of them games. You had Bird Fickling, like he was filling in perfectly for Devin Dampier against Colorado. And now they get a chance to host undefeated Big 12 surprise in Cincinnati and their quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, who has played excellent outside of one throw versus Nebraska, which was atrocious. And he wasn't even in rhythm in that game all over. But the dude has passed for over 20 touchdowns without an interception since then, and he's run for 5 more. And Cincinnati has gotten to this point with a bend but don't break defense that is outside of the top 60 in both rushing and passing yards allowed, but it is ranked 28th in points given up. And we're actually going to see if Devin Dampier, who is getting the start in this game, if he can perform against this defense that is giving up less than one rushing touchdown per game. Because in the games that Utah has won, they're averaging almost 4 rushing touchdowns per game as a team. And it is going to be crucially important for Devin Dampier to use his legs in the game, period. Because when he is bottled up, they lose football games. That's it. That is how to stop Utah. You bottle up Devin Dampier, who wants to extend plays, run around, do whirly birds and all of that stuff. Mm-mm. Now, on the Cincinnati side, their quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, he has a chance to make a statement by having a good game versus the number 7 pass defense in America. But the nice thing about Sorsby's game is that he's adaptable. Like, he's actually arguably more adaptable than Dampier on Utah's side, because Sorsby has shown that he will take whatever you give him. Shut down the run, he'll pass it. Shut down the pass, he'll run it. And Dampier so far has only shown the ability to run his way out of trouble. So when I'm looking at this game and Utah favored by 7.5 points, I will be taking a road dog plus 7.5. I do believe that Utah may win this game, but it's at 7.5. They may win by 7, or they may lose this football game. This would be my absolute lock of the week. All right, now we got to talk about, it is potential upset time. There are 6 games this week that have upset potential written all over. And the first of which is number 16, Louisville at Virginia Tech. Louisville is favored by 10.5 points in this game. Your boy will be on the pregame, halftime, and post game of this game. So make sure that y'all tune in. Send me a picture on Twitter to make sure that y'all were watching so I can see proof. I need to see it. Uh, Louisville comes in at 6-1, already beaten Miami. They're sitting near the top of the ACC rankings. Then you got Virginia Tech, who's 3-5, 2-2 in the ACC. And this is a rat poison game written all over it. Written all over it. Miller Moss, quarterback for Louisville. He is going to, along with his head coach, Jeff Brohm, whose name is being thrown out about he's going to leave Louisville and be the next head coach here or there. He's got to shut that down within his team, even if it costs him a raise, because he has a chance to make the college football playoff this year. And you don't want to do that. You do not want to do that. That would be a very bad idea. And Louisville is 14th in total defense, though, and one of 19 teams allowing less than 300 yards per game. So this defense is going to be tough. And their strength is defending the run. Only 105 yards per game and 3.2 yards per carry. And Cleve Lubin is one of the biggest impact transfers, the kid from Coastal Carolina in the country. And we talked about him as one of the biggest impact transfers heading into 2025. This is why you got to watch George Wrighster College Football Podcast. Leads them with 5.5 tackles for loss. And then their linebacker, TJ Quinn, the dude has been elite in pass defense as well as run support. But you got Miller Moss, who has absolutely been balling. He's been playing well, and the major difference is that he can score with his legs if necessary, and he's not even a great runner. Just telling you. But Virginia Tech, since firing Brent Pry, has actually put together some defensive performances that make their 70th ranked total defense, that figure, just a little bit deceptive, because they held NC State to under 300 total yards, Cal to only 325 despite going into double overtime. And then over the last 3 weeks, they've stopped trying to make Kyron Drones a passer, dropping him from 34 pass attempts per game to 22, which is actually appropriate. And they actually ran the ball, almost 60 times versus Cal last week to only 18 pass attempts, and they won. And then you got Louisville's strength is the run defense. So it's going to be interesting to see which one of these teams blinks first in the matchup. As long as Louisville can get some big plays, they got a chance to win this football game. But they are absolutely on upset alert in this game, even as 10.5 point favorites. However, I'm going to take Louisville minus 10.5. The next team that is absolutely on upset alert this week is South Carolina and Ole Miss. Ole Miss is on upset alert. Ole Miss, 12.5 point favorite in this game, over under 54.5. All the Lane Kiffin talk is finally going to be too much. It's already gonna it's gonna be too much too soon. Everybody is unsure about what he is going to be and everything else. Where he's going to be, whether he's going to be at Florida, whether it's going to be at Ole Miss, whether he's going to be at LSU, Penn State. Anybody wants Lane Kiffin right now. He's the belle of the ball. Well, South Carolina, they gave a game away last week against Alabama. Gave it away. Threw a pick six. Bad turnover late. It was bad. They literally gave Alabama the football game. And that was an awful set of events for them. Now the Ole Miss just won at Oklahoma, and Lane Kiffin has been talking his talk, going back and forth with Brent Venables this week, even though the game was last week. But these two head coaches couldn't be going in a different direction. Shane Beamer, whose team is 1-5 in the SEC, after a lot of people picked him to go to the college football playoff, he could find himself on the hot seat depending on how the rest of this season goes. And that's crazy. Now, I don't believe that South Carolina is going to get rid of him unless the bottom falls out and then they lose to Clemson too, who is struggling this year. Be a very bad idea. So that one I am going to take. This feels like very all this game, whether this is an upset or not, is going to depend on one thing: what Lane Kiffin told his team in the meeting where he addressed the coaching rumors. If he was honest with his team and told the truth, they'll be fine. If he tried to sell them some BS, they will see through it and they will lose this football game. But Lenore Sellers is in the same boat as Dylan Raiola over there in Nebraska. Same boat as Shador Sanders last year. These dudes are football holders. The ball stops with them. They would rather run out of bounds for a 2-yard loss and a sack than throw it away and risk a completion percentage point. It's bad ball. It's not efficient. You can't be worried about that. And Lenore Sellers, it, I can see it all over his game. He is a dude because he got hurt this year already. He is thinking about the NFL. He is. I'm telling you. And it is showing in his game. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. It's just he's distracted right now. He doesn't want to get hurt. He's trying to be perfect, wants his stats to be good. When the NFL doesn't care about them stats as much as you think they do, uh, come back to school for another year. It will Lenore's. You will be better off for it. If you go to the NFL now, you will be Anthony Richardson part 2.0, just a little bit better. Now Trinidad Chambers, quarterback for Ole Miss. After that Georgia game where the stage got too big for him at the end, saw he came back at Oklahoma last week. Mm, now he's been in the fire. He's gonna be just fine. Just fine. I'm actually going to take Ole Miss minus 12 and a half, but this is definitely a spot where they should be on upset alert. Next game, that one, that one right there. We got Purdue at Michigan. Now, Michigan is favored by 20 and a half points. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this game, but Sharon Moore, he is a guy who has to get this Michigan offense going. He's got a hot shot quarterback in Bryce Underwood, a kid that's all world, all the talent in the whole world, but he has to find a way to get him to put the passing game together and develop, not for this season. Because, listen, Michigan's going to put together a 9-win season, but don't expect the college football playoff. Get that out your brain and start making sure that you are doing all the things, Michigan, the way you are ready for 2026, because you are going to be one of the favorites if you do so. If you get too caught up on this year and not the building for next year, you're going to ruin next year. Bad idea. And we're going to know what that looks like this week because Michigan already turned down the they stopped suing, trying to rebut the NCAA for the sign stealing. We knew you was gonna do that. You was guilty. You was guilty. So I like Michigan. I like Michigan in this game, but I do believe that Purdue. This is a game where they could overlook Purdue and end up in a fight. I am going to take Purdue plus 20 and a half. Plus 20 and a half. Michigan still wins. It's a little closer than Michigan fans really want to like, though. We got Georgia Tech at NC State. This is the thing that I keep telling y'all about Georgia Tech. They are walking through the raindrops. They were an underdog playing against Duke. They're only favored by 5.5 points playing against a 4-4 NC State team. Dave Dorn is another guy that you could potentially put on the hot seat as well, depending on how the rest of this year goes. But the fact that Georgia Tech's only favored by 5.5 points in this game lets you know how thin the margins are for them. I love Haynes King. I love his leadership. And he's going to have to run the ball more and more every single time that they get in these sorts of games. But last week, oh, he killed it. 25 for 31, 304, 3 touchdowns. Oh, he was great. He was absolutely great. And that's what they are going to need out of him is the passing. Because if he can throw the ball and need to take less carries, this favors Georgia Tech so much, and they will be able to win big. But it's this Georgia Tech defense that I believe is going to be able to do some things versus NC State. If they are not able to um, get some turnovers, NC State may win this football game because they are on upset alert. Because NC State can score, but they live in negative scripts, sacks, penalties. They're absolutely getting their drives wrecked. And Texas defense is a bend. Well, Georgia Tech's defense is a bend but don't break. They play fast. They play down hills, but you know, like they will give up some explosives at times. And but their whole goal is to grind you down into field goals because they're going to kick field goals on offense. So they want to grind you down. And this is going to be whether NC State is in the proper conditioning, if they're in the proper shape. This is huge as far as Georgia Tech being able to keep Brent Key, show that you can win these sorts of games. That way he can recruit better. And if he can get more kids into the Georgia Institute of Technology, it is going to be a problem because he builds toughness, he builds leadership, he builds all the things that you need. So, but Georgia Tech is on upset alert, and I am taking Georgia Tech minus 5.5, though. Next team on upset alert, we got Virginia at Cal. Virginia's favored by 4.5 points in this game, but going to Cal and the Cal algorithm is tough. And Cal has hope, right? They have some level of hope. It's just a matter of how much hope. Because there are times where you're like, oh my God, Jaren Kiwi Sagapua-Telly, their quarterback, looks amazing. And then there are times where like he looks like a true freshman, but he's still amazing. And then you wonder, can their head coach, Justin Wilcox, can he get them over the hump? Can he do that? Because that is the biggest question. They're sitting at 5-3. Double overtime loss against Virginia Tech. And then you're wondering about what the future looks like for them because Cal plays at Louisville, which could be a loss. That Stanford game, Stanford's playing much tougher. That could be a toss-up game as well. And they play SMU. So if they don't win this game, it's going to be hard for them to potentially get bowl eligible. So this game matters big time. This is their opportunity. And yes, you can get by with just bowl eligible at Cal, but anywhere else, oh yeah, yeah. But Justin Wilcox also has a chance to win 8 games this year and show everybody like, nah, bro, I'm the man that should be leading Cal. Or I'm the guy that you should be trying to pry away from Cal for your team in one of these job openings. Because Cal is a hard place to win. Academic requirements. He's put together really good defenses. It's hard to win. You've had COVID restrictions, all that sorts of stuff. Yeah. Um, I love what Tony Elliott is doing over there at Virginia. I like their quarterback, Morris. They are a gritty bunch. This just feels like Virginia is way too far in front of where they should be this year. I am going to take Cal at home plus 5.5. I'm actually going to take them to outright win this game. I think Virginia's glass slipper falls off, but not all the way because Tony Elliott is definitely a good coach and getting this team going in the right direction. And you know what? His name should be up for some of these top jobs. All right. So those are the games. And then we got the Texas Tech Kansas State game. I am interested in this game as well. Texas Tech is a 7.5 point favorite. Baron Morris is back starting. Kansas State has been absolutely struggling this year, but they have won back-to-back games very decisively against TCU and then against Kansas. What is Kansas' record? Oh, Kansas 4-4 too. So this is an opportunity for them. But I am going to trust that with Texas Tech getting their starting quarterback Baron Morris back and healthy, that they are going to win this game and dominate this football game, and their defense is going to absolutely ball out. The last game that we got up today that we're going to talk about deeply is we got Georgia versus Florida. This the former biggest cocktail party in the world in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, when I played in Jacksonville, the interesting thing is that I had no idea what this game was really in terms of its significance. And because I remember, like, I see RVs parked in the parking lot. I was like, wait, we're playing away this week. What the hell's going on? They're like, oh, it's Georgia Florida week. I'm like, okay, biggest cocktail party in the okay. And but turns out, and even though it's dry now, it is still a tradition and it's played at a neutral site. Everybody knows where it is. I love it. I love it. Georgia is 6-1, trying to prove that they are that they belong and everything else. Florida, they're probably going to get a little bit of a bump now that Billy Napier is fired because that's what happens. And Billy Gonzalez, who's the interim head coach, he's like, "Hey, look at me. Watch what we can do." You see what Tim Skipper's doing over there at UCLA? He's probably going to get that job. Just telling you. Now, in terms of program stability and recruits and everything else, you got to give the edge to Kirby Smart, who's one of the best head coaches in all of college football, multiple time national championship winner. And when you look at the quarterbacks, this is a clear runaway. You got Gunnar Stockton, 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, one pick. Last game against Ole Miss, he threw for almost 300 yards as well in their win where he came from behind again. And then you got DJ Lagway, 1,500 yards, but he's thrown 9 interceptions this year already and only 9 touchdowns. And last game against Mississippi State, he did throw for 280. But the key is keeping his pass attempts down and running the football. That is the answer for Georgia. It is clear. It is clear. And for Florida. But for Georgia, Cash Jones and Bowens, they have to run the football. And Florida's defense is a good, formidable defense to be able to stop Georgia from running the football. But if they can, Gunnar Stockton to Zachariah Branch has to be a real thing. Has to be a real thing. Now, the Gators defense, I believe, is going to be energized. They're going to have more energy and excitement under their new interim head coach. But Miles Graham, Kelby Collins, they got to be good on defense. They got to be good on defense. Yeah. So, and in this game, Georgia is favored by 7.5 points. I'm gonna tell you, this feels like an upset special, potential upset. I'm actually taking Georgia plus 7.5. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Florida. I'm taking Florida plus 7.5. This feels like a sticky situation only because you can't predict how teams are going to react when their head coach gets fired. And there is opportunity here. But in Florida, if they can get the running game going with Janelle Ball, who has over 600 yards rushing already, they're going to have an opportunity in getting the ball to Dallas Wilson. I'm telling you. But this Georgia defense, though, is top 10 SEC in both yards and points allowed. But in the first half, there are openings. It's the second half that they make adjustments and shut you the hell down. And Glenn Schumann, their defensive coordinator, who should be up for even more jobs because he's a clear leader of men. He understands defense. And, Georgia, like Kirby Smart was a Alabama disciple, his defensive coordinator. And then their defensive coordinator tree with Dan Lanning and the rest of them, it's been very good. So, but I believe that because of the situation, I'm going to take Florida plus 7.5. All right. And we got to talk about to find it. There is a zero threat games that we need to talk about. Just mention. We got Notre Dame versus Boston College, and we got Indiana versus Maryland. No threats. This is a zero threat game. Indiana is going to tie in Maryland up in the first half. They're going to tie them up and punt them out of the stadium. And Notre Dame is going to do the same thing to Boston College. But you guys, that is the end of the show. Make sure that you like, subscribe, keep hopping in the chat. Tell a friend about the show. Peace out. We will catch you guys on Thursday. But you know what? We got a big time interview coming up as well. We're going to have the head coach of the Memphis Tigers this week, Ryan Silverfield. So make sure you guys check that out. Peace out. Catch you guys later.